and Dr. Tamika Rayhead. Dr. Rayhead is, it's been a pleasure working with her. I met her in person. She's wonderful. So I'm glad to have her back with us. She's worked with us on STEM Day, so I'm glad to have her again this time here. And she's the founder of Pink STEM Inc. She's a dedicated educator. She is a dedicated, let me make sure, kind of, as I was saying, breakout session. So make sure I got this beautiful picture of Dr. Tamika, right? She is a dedicated educator with a diverse background in the U.S. Air Force. Dr. Tamika led Stimulate, right? I just love saying that. Stimulate Your Mind Academy in Warner Robins, Georgia, preparing students for STEM careers through tutoring and community engagements. So today she's going to be our moderator for Tech Talk Developing Your Identity Through AI, which is exploring how AI influences personal and professional identity and how students can use that thoughtfully, right? Because there's been a lot of fears in terms of students using AI ethically and things like that. So that's what today's conversation is going to be about. And the panelists is going to be sharing some ways that teachers can kind of guide students on how to use that thoughtfully as well as ethically in order to shape their own path. So please put your hands together for Dr. Tamika Head.
Thank you, Babita. Hello, hello, and good morning to everyone. Well, I have a jam-packed audience and panel today, and I just want to jump right into it. My name is Dr. Tamika Head, founder of Pink STEM Inc., and our goal and mission is to support more girls and women in the fields of STEM. So I want to jump right into my first panelist to introduce her, Miss Chelsea Atkins. If you can wave to the camera, it is so good to see you this morning. I'm going to read Chelsea's bio. Chelsea Atkins is a seasoned professional in the field of cybersecurity and emerging technologies with over a decade of experience in the financial industry. Chelsea now serves as a cybersecurity supervision specialist. That's a mouthful at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, where she focuses on advancing operational resilience and exploring the impact of emerging technologies on cybersecurity frameworks. On top of her primary role with FRB Atlanta, Chelsea also serves as an AI program analyst with the Federal Reserve Board of Governors based out of DC to evaluate practical use of artificial intelligence, and develop effective governance practices. In addition to her professional achievements, Chelsea is pursuing her Doctor of Science with her research exploring quantum readiness and post quantum crypto cryptography, making sure I said that correctly, in critical infrastructure sectors. As a thought leader in her field, Chelsea is passionate about leveraging her expertise to bridge the gap between innovative technology and practical security solutions. Welcome to the panel, Chelsea. The next speaker that we have up is Dr. Maxine Kane. Dr. Maxine, can you wave to everyone in the audience? Thank you. Dr. Maxine Kane is a leader in the tech industry, committed to inclusivity, innovation, and education. As the founder and CEO of STEM Atlanta Women Incorporated and Mathis Griffin Kane LLC, she is transforming opportunities for women and underrepresented groups in STEM. With a background in business and human resource management, Dr. Kane holds a Doctor of Humane Letters for her contribution to STEM education. She leads efforts to bridge the gap in tech and promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion. Recognized with awards such as the Biden President's Lifetime Achievement Award, Dr. Kane continues to inspire change in the tech industry. Thank you and welcome, Dr. Kane. The next that we have, Mr. Luis Guzman. Mr. Luis, if you can wave just so everyone can see you on your screen, is the CEO and founder of System Technology Works, LLC, specializing in humanoid robotic platforms for education and research. With over 20 years of experience in software engineering and IT, he has led the development of Zeus 2Q, a versatile humanoid robot for education, AI, and research. Louise holds 2 patents for Zeus 2Q and has held senior roles at the Weather Group and NBC Universal, where he managed IT infrastructure and automation processes. His expertise bridges engineering and manufacturing, driving successful product development. Passionate about innovation, Louise continues to lead advancements in robotics and technology. Welcome, Louise. Next, we have Jahari Solward. Jahari, can you wave to everyone, please? Hi, welcome. Jahari serves as a visionary leader driving progress in the realms of digital equity and workforce development. In her role as a CEO of In Pursuit Career Partners, she passionately advocates for equal access to emerging technologies and the enhancement of job quality through training, staffing, and workforce solutions. Jahari spearheads initiatives aimed at bridging the digital divide and empowering individuals from underinvested communities. Nice to meet you, Jahari, and welcome. And last but certainly not least, we have Liberty White. Liberty, can you wave to the camera, please? Hello, Liberty. Liberty leverages her expertise in AI, digital marketing, and education to drive workforce development and foster diversity in tech. As a CEO of Chosen Media, and that's Chosen spelled with a Z, Chosen Media, she integrates cutting edge AI with digital marketing to enhance engagements in clients like ESPN, the WNBA's Atlanta's Dreams, and startup Canada Peel. Through her initiatives, She Learns AI, Liberty empowers women with essential tech skills, aiming to bridge the gender gap in technology. A seasoned educator and FAA certified drone pilot, she produces global content as a host for Office Hours Global and has reached over 140,000 viewers with her AI tutorials. Liberty's work has been featured on national media, and she has served as a judge for Amazon's Alexa Prize Social Bot Challenge. Thank you, panelists. If you all can come off of mute, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have some high schools here in the room. Let's make this interactive. Let's make this fun because I have you until 11:15, and we're about learning, but we're all about wanting to hear from you guys too. So if you can just drop in the chat which school district you're from or which school, just so we can kind of get to know you guys. And I'm going to ask a few questions to learn so we can teach you guys more about AI, but learn from what you all know as well. Okay, so the first question that I'm going to ask for the panelist question, and I will give this first one to Louise. Okay?
Yes.
Louise, can you briefly explain what artificial intelligence, AI, means to you in your own professional life and how you're currently using it in your everyday life? Take it away, Louise.
In my role, AI is the best tool to actually convert what is analog, which is our conversations, our visuals, and all that information, and be able to convert that into digital information for the computers to process. AI is right now is being used for the robots for sight to be able to visualize and understand what it's looking at. Also is being used to have a conversation, be able to respond to people questions and stuff like that. So we are in our company, we have integrated all that into the our robots to be able to communicate with people. So we've done that.
Thank you for that information, Louise. And the next person I'm going to toss that question to is Liberty. I'm going to ask the question once more to have it fresh on your mind. Can you come off mute and answer? Can you briefly explain what artificial intelligence, AI, means to you in your own professional life and how you're currently using it in your everyday life? Thank you, Liberty. We can't hear you, Liberty. I'm sorry. Not yet. You want to take a few moments to work on it and I can come back to you? No worries. You know, technology, it is Friday the 13th, but it's a good day, like Babita said. We're going to keep going. Okay. Dr. Maxine, would you mind answering that question so I can come back to Liberty as she works through that?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the question. So, what does AI mean to me in my everyday life? Right now, I it means everything. It means increased productivity. It means that I have an executive assistant. It, it means that I am really, really good at prompt engineering, which means that I am able to really dig down deep and train my AI assistant to respond and act and think almost like I do. So I've really spent a lot of time training the AI brain, is what I call it, to reflect the output that I want to deliver to the world. So I use it every day, and I challenge it every day as well. So I don't just let it just, hang out and give me what it wants. I make sure that I am training it to respond in the way that I need it to.
Thank you, Dr. Maxine. And prompt engineering is my best friend and assistant too. So thank you for that information. I'm going to take a quick pause because I see that my chat is really quiet. So I need at least 3 to 5 people who are in my audience to please express how do they use artificial intelligence, AI, in their everyday or professional life. This can be teachers, this can be high school students. My first 3 to 5 people who I see the answers, I'm going to shout you out and I'm going to say what you say. Well, depends on what you say, but I will definitely put that there. If we could go back to Liberty as everyone is filling out their information in the chat. Take it away, Liberty.
Yeah, so thank you. And yes, just like Dr. Kane had said as well, it's just like it's being able to have your assistant. So in the world of marketing and production, and I hope to get to this a little bit later, just talking about some of the innovation that's happening, but you're able to not only take some of those ideas out of your head, but whether it be ChatGPT, Gemini, there are tools like Perplexity to really help you to strategize. Like that's a big part of it. So some of the tasks that are repetitive, you can find tools that will be there's some tools we use like Descript where you can plug in some of your content or your video and then it's pulling captions, or it's even helping someone who they're not the strongest editor, but then being able to help them to create content. So that's more under the term of Gen AI, generative AI, where these tools are using existing knowledge, existing data, and then through prompt engineering and said tools, you're able to create something new, whether that be a video, whether that be images, whether that be content. So those are some of the ways that we're using AI.
Thank you, Liberty. And I heard some gold nuggets that I'm going to say again that you just said. You mentioned Descript for content video, and you also mentioned using generative AI. So I'm glad that you put that. Please take your notes if you don't have that down yet of different tools that you can use. And then I want to go to the chat quickly. I have Alethea, please excuse me if I'm saying your name incorrectly, Master. You said that we're still trying to figure it out. Yes, we are. And then you said one is in the elementary room. So if Babita can work on that for us. Okay. I'm going to go on to the next question, and thank you, panelists, for that first question. The second question will go to Chelsea. Do you mind coming off mute for us, Chelsea? I see you. You're already off. Okay, Chelsea, the next question. How do you think AI influences the way we perceive our personal and professional identities?
Well, excuse me. First, I have to make a disclaimer that all my opinions expressed today are my own personal opinions, and none of these opinions necessarily reflect the official policy, position, or opinion of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta or the Federal Reserve System. So now that that's out there, let me answer your question. So how does AI influence the way that we perceive our identities? There's a lot. So AI right now is a double-edged sword. There's a lot of pros and cons. There is a lot of over-reliance on it right now. So for example, students might go to it to help with homework, but that could be some sort of ethics violation for your school. So it's really kind of managing to see how you can use these creatively without compromising your ethics, and the ethics of your institutions. So an example of that for me is I'm in school, I'm getting my doctorate right now, but I use AI in my research a lot because it helps me creatively determine what's the next best step for my research, or what type of research do I want to do, or really a topic even. So it kind of helps narrow down a lot. But like I said, it's a double-edged sword. So it's really just a matter of trying to figure out how to work best in the environment that you have now.
Thank you for that information, Chelsea, and thank you for also for your disclaimer we have noted. So we want to go on to ask that same question. If we can get that question for Jahari. Jahari, would you mind coming off of mute? And if you want me to redo the question, how do you think AI influences the way we perceive our personal and professional identities?
Well, I love that question. I think one of the things, but kind of before we move into the response here is I see, one of the things I love about AI is the ability to leverage it as an equity tool, right? As a way in which really provides this access that maybe we haven't had before. And oftentimes what we find is that we all have many ideas, things that we want to do, things that we want to explore. And to Dr. Maxine, Dr. Kane's point, and to Liberty's point, we know that we can use it many different ways, and it kind of helps solve some efficiency and productivity challenges for us. But I think when you think about what's next for me in my career and what do I do next? And, I know that I like this, but I'm not exactly sure what direction to go in. This is when AI you can lean into it, and it can help you explore opportunities that maybe you're unaware of at that moment. And explore opportunities for yourself and use it as a career exploration tool. I think to Chelsea's point, where it creates this great opportunity, there's also a great responsibility, right? And so opportunity is fantastic, but responsibility is just as important. And so from an ethics perspective, we also know that it does have inherent biases. And so ensuring that we understand how it's being utilized, how it's learning, and what permissions you provide it or allow it to learn from you. One thing I always say is that I can sit in the room with my family and have a ton of responses and answers to things because I am that innately aware of the problem. If I had the ability to take the problem, take a solution that I have, and combine it with tools like AI, wow, what innovations could come. And so it brings me a great deal of joy to see how young people can engage with it, can use it for career exploration, and it introduce different avenues to them on what the future can be, instead of being afraid of it, of what it might have the potential or risk to do, as long as we're using it responsibly.
Thank you for mentioning the ethical, making sure that you are an ethical user because it is still new and we don't have all of the requirements that are needed. So thank you for mentioning that. I do have a question for my high school students. So I'm going to ask my panel and then I'm going to ask you all to write in the chat and I will tell you one moment. The question is, since we have high school students in the audience, panelists, and I'm going to touch each one of you as panelists to answer this question. Can you share your thoughts on ways you think AI can help students discover and develop their personal interests and strengths? And I really need more participants. I don't have my 3 to 5 participants, high school students and teachers. If you can also put the ideas of how AI can help you as students or even you as teachers discover and develop their personal interests and your strengths. Liberty, would you mind taking away this question to get us started?
Yes, most definitely. I was actually feeling kind of bouncing off of what Jahari just said with regards to when it's like when you have to think, and if there's any moment where you have critical thinking, and I'm trying to see, hopefully this will work, like doing even a quick demo for those students who potentially have just even in using Chat GPT, let's say, for example. And what I'll do here is I'll say, and it would have been great if we had some students interacting with us here, but I am in 10th grade and I really like to draw. And I'm using voice to do this. So tell me 3 or 4 ways that I can find a mentor in this space, period. You can grammar check, but this is live. So I'm going to set it in. Let's get ChatGPT to see what ChatGPT has to say about that. Okay, so reach out to some local art programs and classes, connect with some artists online. So just thinking through that aspect of things where just thinking through that aspect of being able to use it. You've got an idea and maybe, of course, asking your teachers or asking your parents or asking for friends, but there's an opportunity to use some of those tools because what we didn't touch on yet is that a tool like ChatGPT, Gemini, all of these AI tools out there, they're trained on a lot of data. So much more data than we currently have right now, like in my mind, because I've got to do a lot of learning to amass that kind of data. So you can leverage that to help you as you're trying to figure out, well, what can I do? And it's just that processing power, using it to support you. That's just one of the ways that you can.
And Liberty, before we leave, I want you to pull that back up because we do have representation in the room from Lake Sinclair. They put in the chat that they are here in the room. Can you personalize that question and let's change the prompt to
Sure.
make it a little more centralized to showing people how they can use prompt engineering to ask questions to just relative to their area so they can find a mentor for the Lake Sinclair area students.
Okay, so Lake. So let's say it like this. I'm a student at Lake St. Clair. Is this correct? St. Clair. And is there anyone in the chat that might want to? Okay, so I'm not a student, but it helps me drive safe on the road. So I'm a student at Lake St. Clair, and let's give a little bit more identity there. So let's say ninth grade.
Yes, a ninth grade student. That works well.
Ninth and ninth grade student. Let's say I enjoy math because we are here at computer science week. So I enjoy math and I would like to get ahead in class. Can you create a tutorial session for me on algebra? I'm totally making this all up, but I would also put some qualifiers. I might say I only have 10 minutes or I only have 30 minutes a day, and you can put some more of that information around it, but it's already given us some objectives to learning. So for those super energetic and super driven students that we know that we have those driven students here, that's another way of like, okay, just kind of thinking through productivity, or anytime that there's a challenge or something that you're like, I need a little bit more support. This is where you can use those tools to help you.
Thank you, Liberty, for those tools and going over the prompts. I'm going to toss that right back to Jahari because Jahari, we were talking about making sure that our questions are ethical. And I want to make sure that we ask the question again, but I want to go right into you. Since we have high school students in the audience, can you share your thoughts on ways that AI can help the students discover and develop their personal interests and strengths?
Absolutely. And I'll give you a really good example. So this summer, we had the opportunity to introduce and launch our Youth AI Navigator program. And when I tell you, our young people just did an outstanding job. But it was really an opportunity for them to take it a step beyond a GPT, right? And so, yes, I understand how to write a good prompt. I'm using it. I'm successful at it. But how do I also use tools differently to solve problems for businesses and nonprofits and organizations that may need that level of capacity building support? And so this summer, we launched a program with about 15 high school students throughout Metro Atlanta, where they got paid to support nonprofits and small businesses with adopting AI technology within their organizations. And they were able to build tools like, and work on tools like Power Automate and understand workflow automation. They were able to use tools like a virtual agent and create chatbots that support customer service needs for organizations. And then they were able to take it a step further and go beyond something as simple as Excel and leverage Power BI and really look at data differently and help organizations even look at data and insights that can help support their business. What we ended up finding is that our young people have so much talent and they are extremely curious and they want to be curious and they want to dig in deeper and they want to solve problems that make them feel good about themselves, but also where they can see the impact of it. And so as much as we can, we need to support our young people and create an environment for them to be able to learn and tinker with some of those advanced, I wouldn't say advanced AI tools, but some of those tools that are already embedded with AI technology that allow them to explore what opportunities could look and feel like. The other thing I would say too, for our instructors and our teachers, there's a great opportunity for you too to spend some time on information literacy. And so just as much as we are using GPT tools and using something like that, it's important that we also help our young people understand the difference between what's real and what is false.
Yes.
And so just because a prompt provides a good explanation and it sounds really pretty, there's an opportunity to understand, how do you fact check? How do you recognize something that may sound good, but may be completely inaccurate? And so the information literacy in which our instructors can support our young people with is an awesome opportunity for them to dig in, as well as for our young people to be wrapped around with those level of advanced tools and really integrate it into the work that they do every single day. And guess what? It doesn't take long to do. We're piloting it right now at Arabia Mountain High School, and to see the young people embrace these tools and solve problems for nonprofits and small businesses is really just fantastic. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do it. So it can be done, and I can't wait to see what you all do with it.
Thank you for that, Jahari. And I did hear you were talking about bias earlier and how bias can cause the information not to always be accurate. So thank you for reiterating that. And I just thought about something. Since our chat is a little quiet, if everyone on the panel, when someone else is speaking, if you don't mind quickly just dropping your contact information, because I want everyone to be able to reach out to you by knowing your name and by also having your website so they can reach out to you, because I just heard about the Youth AI Navigator program. And I know, like Dr. Maxine and I, we have our nonprofits, and those are things that maybe some teachers can reach out to you, or maybe some schools can pilot your next program. So if everyone that is on the panel can please drop their information so teachers and students can reach out to you later. Thank you for that, Jahari. I'm going to take that question next to Chelsea. Chelsea, if you don't mind answering the question, since we have some high school students in the audience, can you share your thoughts on ways you think AI can help students discover and develop their personal interests and strengths?
Yeah, I think AI is a great teacher, especially when you give it a little more background details on yourself, like I'm this age and this is how I like to learn. For example, I have ADHD and I cannot read long information stuff. So I'm like, summarize this, please. Write it in a way that makes it easier for me to comprehend. And so when you're struggling with a certain subject or something you're doing in school, you can kind of go back to that and be like, hey, can you help me understand this? And there are applications out there that are designed for this, for studying with AI usage. And so you can talk to it and it'll question you, like test you, and ask you, hey, well, what's the answer to this question? And then it will test your knowledge so that way you're not memorizing and it can tell you're not memorizing. So it wants to make sure you understand the concepts and you just sit there and talk through the concepts with it. So applications like that, I think, are wonderful to leverage. And it is important to note that they're not always correct. So if you're using a chat bot, you do need to kind of learn how to ask it for references. And in certain situations, you might not need it, like asking it, what's the most popular name in the world? Maybe that's not an important reference to have, but if you're using it for schoolwork or something along those lines, it's a little more academic, and you're putting it in a paper or something like that, or your profile and LinkedIn or whatever professionally, and then you do kind of want to learn how to go back and backtrack that. So you do have to continue to fact check when you're talking to AI, and hopefully that's something that gets better. But that does change the industry a lot because right now AI cannot effectively be used to make all decisions that we would like it to. Automation is absolutely great, and we can automate menial tasks with AI. However, I work in the financial industry, so one of the large things is loans. So we cannot allow AI to make decisions on loans because of the bias that we know that they are trained with. So there always has to be a human person there that is designed to help make those decisions. And another issue with AI is that it also has a really hard time backtracking to tell you how it made its decisions sometimes. So for regulatory reasons, if a bank issued a loan, the Fed might come back and ask them, how did you make this decision? And if they can't answer that because the AI made the decision, then that's going to cause regulatory issues. So there's a lot of wide net. It's going to get better, hopefully, and it'll continue to develop. But I think that person in the middle is always going to be kind of important. So if you can learn AI and learn the good and the bad, then you can continue to develop with it. And as you guys age, you're at a good age now, like technology is cool, you know it, you learned it, young, great. So continue to develop with it. Follow the news, all the new things that come out about AI, and allow that to affect your identity as well, because I talk to AI all day. I have it on my phone. I tell people like ChatGPT is like my best friend. I'm curious. I'm so curious. I will just walk down the street and then run into a random question like about driving law. I don't know. And so then I'll be like, ChatGPT, can you tell me this? But then I'll be like, oh, please reference it. Tell me where you got this information. So, I mean, it's very, very helpful, and it does learn over time, what you expect from it, and how to talk to you, like the style to talk to you. So it's very interesting, and it does help. I've used it several times. I had it help me write my LinkedIn profile. So my biography. So you can use it for a lot of different things, but it is important to kind of understand that, again, it is a double-edged sword. So just be careful with it.
Absolutely. And Brian Cox did put in the chat earlier that AI helps him drive and stay safe on the road. So we are using it, and it's inevitable, and we are going to continue to use it in the future. Thank you. And the next question, the same question will be for Louise. If you can please answer that question.
Well, I'm looking at AI from a different point of view. I think it's one of the things is what you have to have is skills, and AI is a tool to, how do you call it, amplify those skills. So in the programming sense, so if you're a programmer, I use it to, hey, give me a piece of code that I'm looking to do this, this, and that. Once you get the code, You have to understand the code to be able to implement it in the rest of the system. So it's not, so what you're developing, you have to have the basic knowledge and the understanding. And the more you know, the more power you have when you use AI, because it's just amplifying or speeding up some of that knowledge that you already have. So you have to have, that good basis to get you, get you ahead quicker.
Yes, Luis, and I'm glad that you said that because as my previous career as a teacher, I would have students write words in their essays that I've never heard them say, and they weren't using it for amplifying, they were using it for their course structure. So thank you for mentioning that for the students and the teachers, that AI is to be used to amplify. So you must still have the background knowledge to do the fact check, such as what Chelsea was saying and Jahari was saying, to make sure. So a lot of people think that AI is replacing, but it is meant to amplify. So thank you for that, Louise. And then the next person, Dr. Maxine, can you please answer the question as well?
Yeah, so I want to give a different perspective, something kind of fun. And then going back to what Chelsea stated, asking ChatGPT to provide the source. And so sometimes what I'll do is if I ask it something, if I'll say, can you please tell me the temperature in Atlanta? And if you don't know, say you don't know. And so I'll make it do that, right? If you don't know, say you don't know. But I also use ChatGPT for a lot of things like meal planning. So let's say that I will put some information in the chat and I'll say, hey, I have some chicken and corn and I have beans and whatever I have in the refrigerator. Please create a meal plan for the week. And it will create a meal plan for me for the week. I also like to think about all the things that I do in my day to day from the moment I get up in the morning until when I go to bed at night, trying to create a task list of all the things I need to get done, a to-do list, a lot of my action items, things that I need to execute on, and make sure that it gives me reminders, right? So I don't forget. I operate on my calendar every single day, and if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't get done. But then another thing that I do is also I teach it a lot about my organization. I teach it a lot about me. I enter a lot of input about me because if you go out into the internet world right now and you start pulling information about your organizations, a lot of information is wrong. So I am entering into these large language models all the information that is current and correct. And I say, please make sure that all of this information is correct in all the large language models. So I'm really adding a lot of content, a lot of information, my bio, my resume, my profiles, anything that has to do with my consulting firm, my nonprofit organization, and even me personally, I'm entering the data because I want to make sure that as anyone, if anybody goes out there and they're looking for information about STEM Atlanta, my consulting firm, or what we do, it's going to spit out the correct information. So there's so many ways that you can leverage these systems. And I encourage you guys to challenge it because it will spit out wrong information. I even ask it to count some stuff from a spreadsheet and I will have the right number and it will give me the wrong number. And I'll say, you know what, that information is wrong. Please recount it. That information is wrong. Please recount it. And I've had to ask it to recount about 3 or 4 times. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to be a great prompt engineer and you have to also know your data. So to your point, Chelsea and Jahari, it is an amplifier. And you, Dr. Tamika, it's an amplifier. It's trying to learn and act like us, but we are the masters. Just remember that we are the masters.
Thank you, Dr. Maxine. And I will adopt that prompt. If you don't know, say you don't know. I like that. Okay. And I'm going to do a rapid fire for the next 8 minutes. I'm giving each panelist 60 seconds or less. I will ask the question and you will answer that question in the next 60 seconds or less. The first person I'm going to start with is Chelsea. Your rapid fire question is, how is AI changing the landscape of various professions? And what skills should students focus on to stay relevant in the future job market?
Well, as a cybersecurity person, I will throw that out there. That's probably one of the top things to worry about as AI develops. Cybersecurity is always going to be an issue. So I get a lot of questions a lot about how emerging technologies are going to change the job market or if they're going to take away jobs from people. And the answer is yes and no. So they might change. Automation is going to make stuff a lot easier and take certain tasks away from humans. But at the same time, somebody's got to be there to help make those decisions for AI. And they also have to be able to guide it and know how to influence the cybersecurity practices. So right now in the government, there's not a lot of guidelines for AI right now because it's too new. Guidelines take a long time to develop. So the government's working on it, NIST's working on it. We've got a lot of stuff coming out and suggested, but that's a big job market. I have job security for the rest of my life, so luckily, I recommend it. I love it. So it's a good place to go. But I would say those type of technical skills are always great. Programming skills are good for AI as well to learn how to actually train the models. Data science always great as well. So learning a little bit of the technical stuff, and I have a technical background, but I will say that you do not need a technical background to work with AI. So some aspects of cybersecurity are entirely policy and governance practices. So that is making sure that there is compliance to written policy or written standards that are out by like NIST or big government organizations. And those don't require a technical background. Understanding what they say is important. However, being able to actually do what they say and put that into practice, that's not near as important. So if you're like, oh, I don't want to learn how to code or whatever to get into this industry, you don't need to. So I would just like to put that out there. But there's lots of ways to develop, and I think even creativity is a really important thing with AI, because learning how to automate things and what to automate is a very a weird form of creativity in the technical field, but it's actually a lot of fun. So if you are a creative type of person, then I would look into that. And you know, if anything that we're saying here resonates with you, then I would go to ChatGPT when you get home and ask it, like, hey, tell me about a job in this industry. Tell me about a job that does XYZ. Tell me about a day in the life of that. And you'll get some pretty good information back. And that's some stuff you might not have to fact check. So
Thank you, Chelsea. And really quickly, if you can name just for the high school students 5 different types of degree paths or technical degrees they can go into cybersecurity.
yeah, there's a cybersecurity path. There is data forensics. There's data science. You have just general IT stuff, project management. Even I know people who have creative degrees who come into AI fields. So really, I wouldn't say that you need to go to school for a very particular thing unless you want to be in the technical side.
Thank you for that information, Chelsea. And I'm going to move on to Jahari next for the next rapid fire. The next question is, Jahari, can you share some examples of how AI is being used in different industries to shape professional identities?
Yeah, I think, Dr. Kane talked about, or I think someone talked about how they use it just generally even on their LinkedIn, right? And helping with that. So I think at the very fundamental level, you can do some things around that. I would also say, to Chelsea's point, things around policy and privacy is going to be of high sensitivity very soon as policies and laws begin to change and shift. I think where it's also going to make a big difference is, making sure that organizations have a good tech infrastructure. It's difficult to build on something when you don't have the infrastructure to support it to begin with. And so understanding even at the very basic level, how you save documents, how you protect those, the conditions, the constraints you put around who has access, are some things that we must begin to think about before we kind of open Pandora's box and allow it to learn from all pieces of information that you may have. So your storage, the way in which you control it is going to be critical. And then I think too, to what Louise was saying, we have a machine learning cohort that we're doing now for engineers. And in that training program, it's augmenting and upskilling software developers, with advanced AI machine learning experience. And so I just think that as a community, we must get comfortable with a heightened understanding of analytical judgment, and we must get extremely, and we must dig deeper into being more curious. And I think those two skill sets itself will be one of the skill sets that will be paramount, in the upcoming years as we start to adopt AI technology within our organizations more.
Thank you for that information, Johari. And then my next question goes to Louise. How can students prepare themselves to be adaptable and resilient in a world increasingly influenced by AI?
So I think they should not think AI is going to take their job or do what they do. The first thing that you have to think is AI is just another tool that you're going to be able to use to enhance all the knowledge that you have to get stuff done, especially in coding. In my side, it's been, it just amplifies all my skills to be able to code and review code faster and be able to the thinking and the logical thinking is not going to be done by the AI. You're the ones who have to start developing and looking at the gaps in the process. So it's the critical thinking that's really, really, really important for tomorrow's jobs and to be able to perform, all the kind of stuff that we need to do.
Thank you, Louise. That critical thinking is key, and thank you for sharing that. The next question will be for Liberty. What advice would you give to students who are just starting to explore AI and its potential impact on their lives?
Yeah, just start. That is diving in, because the data is already showing us, especially because what we do with She Learns AI is helping women to really get into it so that we can deal with tech equity issues. And the 35, when it comes to these tools, when they come out, you've got a certain group that they're always on it. And then when it comes to women, that we are slower to. So if you just start, there's a list in the chat I put of some tools that you can try. We've already mentioned Descript. We've mentioned there's Runway ML, there's Midjourney, so many tools. And I'm really practical. So YouTube University is your friend. So there's some folks that you can follow there, or even if you're just some of the major players in the space that are like Google or OpenAI or Microsoft, any of them, there are so many tutorials that are out there. So if you just carve out some time, find like a 30-minute, I'd like blocks of like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to say, I'm going to try something today. That's a great start. And then also just even thinking about some of the things that you really enjoy doing. So if you enjoyed a drawing, if you enjoy writing, what are some of the ways that I can potentially use AI to enhance what I'm already doing? So the biggest thing is be curious, start, and then build that muscle memory as you try these tools out.
Thank you for going over those list of tools again, Liberty. We really appreciate that. Everyone, please make sure you look in the chat. I have Dr. Maxine who will answer our last and final question. And if all of the panelists can please ensure that you have put your information and your contact and some more tools in the chat as well. Dr. Maxine, your question is, how can students get involved in AI-related activities or communities to further their understanding and skills?
That is a great question. How can they get involved? I would first say start with your school counselor, and find out who their community partners are, because there are a lot of schools that have community partners and corporate partners that provide a lot of resources and activities. And then also encourage them to reach out to the partners that you're interested in learning and partnering with. So you may say, I am interested in getting more information from the Federal Reserve Bank. Well, the school counselors can reach out to these corporations and to nonprofit organizations and inquire, because they're always willing. I have amazing corporate partners all the time, and they're reaching out and they want to know, how can they volunteer? How can they provide programming? So on and so forth. So start with your school counselors, also your churches. You can also just reach out to your after school activity programs, whether it's sports, whether it's church, it's just a plethora. And you can ask ChatGPT. How can you get involved, especially if there's a particular area of interest in your community? You can do some research. And one other thing that I wanted to add, Tamika, was that because we're focused on the future of work, and I'm a big futurist or what have you, I want these individual students to know that research is amazing. So you can use these tools for school, for anything that you want to research, for grants. So if you're planning to go to school, you're going to college, and let's say you're a junior or a senior, I would encourage you to use ChatGPT, Copilot, or whatever you use to start looking for those grant opportunities. And you can type in a simple prompt that says grants for high school students, grants for cybersecurity, grants for data science. And there are millions and millions of dollars that go unused by high school students because they're not researching and looking for the money. And sometimes it's as simple as writing an essay to get dollars for school. So leverage it, to utilize it to get funds for your school so you don't have to go into a lot of debt. That was my little tip today.
Thank you, Dr. Maxine, for that tip for our high school juniors and seniors. And also, my daughter's a freshman in college. They also have video applications now. So you can use ChatGPT or OpenAI to write a script for your video to help you along the way. So we have come to our time. I want to thank Jahari, Liberty, Louise, Dr. Maxine, and Chelsea for putting together this wonderful panel. And thank you, Babita and Dr. Loretta, for bringing us together with Tag Ed. If everyone in the chat, if there's anyone that wants to ask any last 30-second questions, this is the time while you have all of these experts. So I'm going to give you a few more seconds if anyone has any pressing questions they want to ask before we leave. I think Dr. Loretta just said, thank you, Dr. Loretta. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Babita, and everyone. I greatly appreciate your time. Teachers, students, stay in touch with us, and everyone have a wonderful day. I'm going to toss it back to Babita.